Welcome back to Stationeers, and it's time to automate our furnace, or at least our first furnace. And yeah, I do like the look of this in daylight. I did get some comments between the episodes, so just briefly, someone said to use cladding for a ramp, so I will try that. Maybe not quite now, but I will try that to be able to get up to the top. Otherwise, I've got some comments saying, hey, you probably shouldn't enclose your furnace into a room because it will heat up the inside of the room like crazy. Now, I'm not intending to keep this thing hot and radiating heat all that often while inside the room. So we can certainly try it and see if the atmosphere heats up. But worst comes to the worst, we can always leave a block space out of the roof, so it will never show up as an internal space as far as the game's concerned. So here we've got our furnace and it's ready to go. What do we need to do to automate things? Well, we're going to need a few recipes, and a few recipes we haven't actually done in this season yet, which is to look at the various advanced pipe stuff. So if we go down here... whoops, wrong. This is actually the wrong. I just need to confirm one. That's the wrong machine. There we go. Pipe digital valve. There you are. And we want probably also a. Let's see, a pipe analyzer as well. So the pipe analyzer needs electrum, and the pipe digital valve needs invar. Not very much, 2 and 3 for each one, but we may as well make, a fair bit of it, and then we don't have to worry about it going forward. Is there anything else specifically we need? I don't think so. The rest is going to be electronics. So why don't I start by looking at those very specific alloys. So I've got a locker over here. Been out mining for a little while, and we've got some we've got some metals. We've got gold and silver, we've got nickel, we've got copper, and we've got iron, and we should be able to do some stuff with that. So the first thing we need to do is charge the chamber up. And at the moment, it's now up to 299 kPa. Now, this was 100 last episode, but we're going to need to make invar. And to make invar, we're going to want to have a much higher pressure and temperature. In fact, we need a pressure between 6,000 and 7,000. And a temperature of somewhere between 1,200 and 2,000. So I'm going to try it with 300 kPa. Let's see how this actually does. I do want to get ready, however, for that, because we need invar. It's going to be iron and nickel, I believe. So let's give this a go. And go. Oh, whoa. Okay, so it's 7,790 and a temperature of 2,465. So we're going to need to cool down just a tad. And maybe I set that to maybe 280 next time, maybe 280, 270, something like that. However, this is close, well, much closer than I needed to be. We could put something in to cool it down and then use some of that heat up, but I think well, that might take a while to cool. That's interesting. I don't want to waste this fuel by not using the heat, so what we could do is... if I just drop the main stuff we're going to be using there, and maybe if we just, I don't know, split half again. What if we put 10 iron in there? Let's see how much that cools by. So 7,700 and pretty much 2,500, and 7,800, and let's just grab you. Okay, what are you at now? 7,800. So we're bringing the temperature down, we're bringing the pressure up, which will fall down by itself anyway. So we're going to need to cool that off, or at least what we could do is, well, this may waste things, but what did that do to it? Ooh, that's actually not too bad, as long as I'm quick. Okay, so 6,300. The pressure is is fine. The temperature is a little bit high still. So we can use up some of that. So let's just switch this and split half. Put another 10 iron in. Let's probably raise the pressure back up again. Hopefully. And the temperature has dropped. Let's pull you out. And then let's just actually use the last of this. All right, so that's just 50 away. Do I have any more iron? Small amount. This may be enough. That's enough. All right, so let's just get rid of this iron. We need a stacker at some point, but we'll get to that soon. So between 6,000 and 7,000, and between 1,200 and 2,000. So this should be enough to make some invar. Let's pop you in the top, and just wait for you. I'll make nickel ingots, but we don't want ingots. We want invar. Iron and nickel. No, that's not. Oh, its temperature's risen. Oh, sorry, not temperature. Its pressure's risen because of the two stuff that I put in there. So we need to drop the pressure now, but that may also drop the temperature as well. Well, we'll see. Let's just do that again. And can we get it to the right point? Yep, ingot invar. Okay, so what we will need to work out is for this length of pipe, these two pipes and the contents here, we'll need to work out what that we need to pre-charge that to avoid any need to manipulate it with various ingredients. The spreadsheet online that's often linked does say 300, but obviously it's less in our system, so we pressurize it maybe to 250 next time, and we'll see how well that does. In any case, we've got 100 invar, and that will be more than enough for quite some time. However, that's not the only thing we need. We also need some electrum. Now, electrum's a bit more forgiving. It doesn't really care about the temperature as long as it's above 700 or so, and the pressure needs to be quite low. Yeah, the pressure is far too high at the moment, and I need to just kind of stack it or something. So we can just release some of that. They go into our system. We need to make sure it's can't go too far down. 3.8. We want it below 2400, so I'm just going to drop that a little bit more. 3.3. But now 2.7. 2.2. That will do just fine. And the temperature, again, is perfectly fine anywhere above 700. So now we're going to make some electrum, and that's just equal amounts of gold and silver. So in goes the silver. That will just make into ingots. And by the way, I did put this stuff in as ore. You can process it into the ingot form first, and then put it back through this, and you are too high pressure again. The temperature's dropped as well. So yeah, let's actually just let a little bit more of that out. A bit more. That should be enough. Yeah, there we go. So, what was I saying? You can make it into the ingot form and then flush the gases, and then we shouldn't get any issues with the gas formation causing that pressure and temperature differential. I don't think, at least not as much. In any case, we'll worry about that later. But we've got now 2 new alloys. We also made solder, remember? So we've got solder, electrum, invar. The only one we haven't made is constantan, and that is absolutely doesn't care about pressure whatsoever, only cares about the correct temperature. And we don't need constantan just yet, but once we do, we can just use nickel and copper, and that will make constantan. Will it do it with anywhere near the current temperature? No, it needs to be higher than this. It needs to be like, I don't know, 1,000 to 1,500, I think, something like that. So let's flush the system, and let's get rid of everything. There we go. That is now flushing. Just want to comment saying we don't need to put it into a tank back here. We can feed it into our input system. Yeah, I fully intend to do that. Don't worry. This tank is not here permanently. It is here temporarily. Just before I put some kind of cooling system maybe on this back wall, and then it's going to act as another sort of input to here, where we will then be triggering this only when things are a certain temperature, just to make sure that our entire system is kept to low temperatures. And we don't get any more of that auto ignition problem that we got last episode. Episode before last. Yeah, there we go. So now we need to move on to automation. Okay, so time to make a few bits and pieces. Let's start off with those advanced things we were talking about. We want the pipe digital valve. And that needs copper, steel, and invar. Do I have any steel? I really hope I do. Somewhere. Iron. Steel, there we go, lots of steel. So, whoops, pipe bender. That needs copper, steel, and invar. Okay, let's go and grab all of you. Where's our invar? There we go. And we're probably going to want to take the electrum anyway, so let's load this up with electrum. And copper. That's the gold, give me the copper. Alright, we're going to make, I want to say 2 of these. So now they're going to make really quite quickly, so let's wait for the first one to produce. There's a second one. And then we're going to go straight into pipe analyzer straight afterwards, so we may as well load this up with gold as well. There's 2 digital valves. And I'm going to make 2 analyzers. I'm probably going to need 1 to start with, but that'll be useful. There we go. And there's the second one. Alright, so what are we actually going to do here? We get sunrise again. Good. What I'd like, I think, is a flush button. Or a recycle button, whatever you actually want to call it. Ideally, what we want to happen, I'm probably going to need to take this wall out. That makes it just much more comfortable. What I want to do is walk over here and it be ready. And this is going to be a furnace, I think, because the most common use is not these alloys. You're going to need to make those relatively infrequently. The most common is the regular kind of stuff, you know, the single metals. So I'm going to walk over here. I'm going to want to put my stuff in wherever, at least to start, until we've got an input system with like multiple automated furnaces to make things go faster. But I'm going to walk over. I'm going to put my stuff into a duct somewhere, and I'm just going to want to press go. And that's going to make whatever I want. And if I want to use the weight heat to make more, I can. And then, you know, obviously open the mold. And then push the flush button or the recycle button. Just like in a bathroom, I guess. What I then want to happen is it to open this valve. Then check until this hits vacuum. When it hits vacuum, close the valve. And then turn on this. I think. So that will go up to a certain pressure, and we need to make sure that goes back down to 100. When this turns on, it's going to pressurize and prime it to a certain point, and then I guess we're going to have to detect that and shut it back off again. So I think we're going to need 2 pipe analyzers, and they can't go on there. Oh, that's annoying. Unless it rotates. Yes, they can. Good. Good. Where, however, do I need to put the... Ideally, I want that on the other side, don't I? So, if we put one there, and one there, we should be able to look at the pressures of both of them. I'm not terribly concerned with the temperatures because we're setting what the temperatures will be by just setting this pressure regulator and what it'll prime to. That means we also need a digital valve, so we're going to get that sorted. We need to remove this one, I think. There we go. Let's grab that. And this doesn't go around a pipe, it actually forms the pipe. Power on the back side, so let's put it that way. And then all the power is then on the rear of this thing. Aside from this pressure regulator, which I'll leave it where it is. Then we can just run a power cable from those up and in. So let's just remove more of this wall, shall we? Because it's much easier to work if we just remove this while we're getting everything ready. Yeah, there we go. That's pretty cool. So now we just need a regular kind of cable coil, and we will do that. Yeah, three-way corner, and a junction. There we go. That might be slightly too far away from the wall, but I can just bring it down here, I think. I don't feel like the need to put it further towards the wall, just because of the way it's structured. There we go. And then finally, we just need to remove that. Let's just get rid of this for a second. get my cutters and cut this off. Put this in, back to a junction. Okay, and now we're all set up. Well, we're all connected. I don't know what's set up. Let's just grab all of these and let's put them out of here for now. We don't need them. Okay, so these all have power. So now all we really need to do is to put the electronics somewhere. And I don't know how close together we want these furnaces, and I don't want to be working too far up a wall. So I might want to think about putting the electronics here, and then we have access to everything from this cable, this one cable. I know we want data networks separately, but in this case, I think we can achieve separation by having a power controller here, or somewhere close to that. Yeah, we want to keep this whole subnetwork separately. So, power controller. Are you in the forge or are you in the electronics? Let's have a look. And it also, if I remember correctly, is an expensive recipe. You can use a transformer as well. That does the job. That will separate networks. It just won't have a battery backup. Not that I need one for this, but I do quite like the lights and the power controllers. But why don't we just go with a transformer? Because we're going to need to start using them anyway. Transformer small, or is that what I think it is? Iron, gold, copper. Yeah, let's actually just unload from this because we are going to now start making electronics. Let's put the invar and the electrum away for a second. So iron, gold, copper, and let's build that. Now the usual uses for the transformers are to limit the current coming out of them. So typically you'll have them, ooh, and that's a good point. We should just hook up that extra battery. I keep forgetting to do it. Normally you will have them on this side of a battery once the pull of current is high enough and to stop all kinds of nasty things occurring, like cables blowing up. They will also be used, I think, pretty much when we get to the larger batteries. The larger generators, that's the word, not batteries. Let's just put that in the backpack for a second. Grab my cutters. And make sure we have that connected. Three-way corner? Or is it four-way corner? Is the cables running that way? Looks like... no, there isn't. No, just the three-way corner. There we go. So both of these should now charge once I turn it on. Yeah, okay, that's fine. That gives us a bit more power to work with during the night. Well, it depends on how many solar panels we've got running. Okay, so I'll just pop these back in here, and now we need to start thinking about electronics. So, electronics then. I've done little bits. I'm trying to resist doing lots of electronics. It tends to turn people off, I think, doing too much in one episode, particularly. So what we're going to be doing is saying when this button is pushed, we're just going to, and it is going to be a push button, I think, rather than a flip switch. You know, there's no going to be on or off. It's just going to be push. That's going to immediately have to open the, or at least make sure this is on. No, that'll be the end. Make sure this is opened, and then wait. And we're watching for the vacuum state here. When it hits vacuum, turn it back off again. And then from there, in fact, we could do this with a computer. That's an interesting idea. Yeah. It would be mounted of electronics, or we could do it with a computer and then see if the new computer system, give this a good field test for the new computing system. Why not? You will, however, maybe need the beta branch, or the beta branch, depending if you're English or American, to do that. There is a false state that we haven't really got on this yet. So I'm going to set it up, and then we'll come back for the recipe. And if you're on the beta branch, you'll be able to follow along. If not, it will be out in the main release branch, I'm sure. And if you want to see it in electronics as well, I may go in electronics, but it will need a fair bit of complexity. You need a sort of state machine here. So, you know, is the valve on? Are we waiting for the vacuum? Once the vacuum is finished, then we set the we turn the valve back off again. Then we turn this back on, etc., etc. So that's going to be a fair amount of electronics. Let me know in the comments. Let me know what you want to see there. But I'll start with computers, and we'll see where we go. And yes, the eagle-eyed among you may have noticed that I didn't connect the front of this as well. Don't worry, I did actually remember. Don't worry. Although now it's split between those two batteries, I may need to put more solar panels in just to make sure they're both nice and full. I did put the transformer in here, but it is noisy, so I took it back out, put it in here for now, and I put a regular power controller in there. We've got a computer, we'll come back to that in a second. You need to turn on both of the displays here. There's an on button on them so that you can actually read from them. If you don't do that, yeah, the computer's not going to do you too much good. But we've got it up and running now. So let me show you through this. If we don't run out of power first, let's give this a go. So let's move up to the top. So you need to add a state. Say button setting is equal to 1. So as soon as I push the button, this is going to fire and do both of these actions. So turn the digital valve on. Turn the regulator, make sure it's off. Now that's a protection mechanism. You'll see probably why if you don't actually add it. But essentially, if it's already filling and I push the button, if I didn't have that, it would continually try to fill while trying to get rid of stuff as well. So make sure you add that to turn off your regulator as a safety check, okay? Then let's move a little bit further down. Next state 2, you won't need to do this on the beta branch, by the way. I've managed to avoid using false states. So leave the false state alone if you have it. If you don't have it, don't worry. Next state, number 2. Number 2, output analyzer pressure equals 0. So this is basically what we've just done in number 1 is flush the system. We've opened the digital valve, which exits all of the hot gases from our system. And when the pressure hits 0, and it may look like a 0, it may take a couple of minutes because it's actually 0, and the analyzers only show things to like 1 kPa, etc. So that's something we need to take care of. And that's causing some issues at the moment. Don't worry, I've been doing some experimentation. What state's it in at the moment? It's in the state where I'm using the furnace. Okay, fine. So we've got this is now looking for the pressure to be 0 when I push the button. When it is, it's going to turn the valve on, turn the valve off, sorry, and then turn the regulator on. This is the refill system. All right, and the third one is just the next state down. That's saying in the input analyzer, if the pressure is greater than 5, and we'll set this to 100, this is the actual, the 100 kPa. If the pressure is greater than this amount, turn the regulator off, then go back to the first state. So that will be a full furnace, all done with 3 states. Now, I did get some issues, and this may be something for you guys to actually figure out. Let's actually just flush the system, and you'll see what I mean. Let's, first of all, I think it's a temperature-related thing. It's auto-combusting, I think, at the moment. That's something we may have to diagnose. So it's ready to go. Let's just hit the button. All right, so the output is been turned on, and this is going to deplete. There you go. You'll see it's dropping. No problem at all. The temperature is quite high. And then what's going to happen is as soon as this hits 0 up here, this output analyzer, it's going to turn off that valve, turn this on, and it's going to pressurize up to 5 kPa and no higher. And I had some issues now where it's auto igniting. So let's just see if that happens again. So it's down to 6, 5, etc. It may well be a few seconds before it hits 0, because once it gets quite close to 0, it's hard for a pump to actually move all of that stuff. So yeah, it may look like it's empty, but it's not quite empty. You'll see the number of moles are being shown there by the output analyzer display. So you see we're down to very, very few moles now. It's still in state 2, so this is the exhaust state. And then we're going to hit state 3 as soon as this hit. It says 0 there, you see, but it's not quite 0 just yet. It actually has to hit pretty much 0 on all the moles as well, I think, in order for the pressure to evaluate to 0. So that's not very much further. And you'll see everything switch in just a second. There it goes. So now it's charged up to 4 kPa, but there's, I think, some remaining temperature issues. The temperature is still 2300 even if this is evacuated, so it may well be that maybe the housing is hot, or something to do with that last bit of gas, a tiny amount of moles, is causing an issue. But this is in the temperature is 284. But this is the temperature 2000. Okay, I don't quite know what's going on there. And that's something maybe for you guys to say in the... I'm probably missing something obvious. You guys to say in the comments. But otherwise, it's pressurized itself up to 5 kPa. So if we want to auto-ignite, not auto-ignite, if we want to push the furnace button, we can. And it's already gone through state 3. You see that's this deselected again. And it's back in state 1. So it's reset itself back to where we need to start. And of course, you can just shut the computer off when you don't need it. And this will sit as is. Of course, you need to turn it back on before you push the flush button, otherwise it will not do too well. But I think this has been much more compact, and assuming we don't need any extra states or anything, or maybe a timer of some kind, if we can get this so that it's actually working perfectly well, a lot more compact than the electronics would be. I would imagine electronics for that would be maybe 10, 15 different electronic modules, and that's sort of approaching the... there's our power. That's sort of approaching the efficiency of just having a computer anyway. So that's pretty good. Yep, our batteries are dead. So I think, well, we need to make sure they are going to be facing the sun because we're completely dead. Which means our circuitry is also dead, so they won't turn to face the sun. Yes, I need to go and make more solar panels, and I'll do that obviously when it comes light again here between the episodes. I hope you've liked this one. We've got everything pretty much automated as I want it. We could just add further computers, maybe move that computer to there or something and have computers doing the work. Maybe we'll do the electronics for the next furnace or something along those lines. In any case, we've got a system that works perfectly well and needs no other management than me, as long as we got enough power for the computer, just pushing a button and then walking away once I'm finished, and everything will be reset for next time. So if you liked it, feel free to like, subscribe and share as you would normally do. Leave me some comments, and as always guys, thanks for watching and I'll see you next time.